I am now live. Amazing. Okay. Hello, and thank you so much for coming into the broadcast and joining us today on this beautiful Wednesday evening. So, if you're watching for the first time, please do follow, subscribe so you can get notifications when this broadcast is coming out next. Please do share this out if you find this of worth and of value. How can you not? Send us some love. Give us some hearts. Say hello in the comments. Let us know where you're watching from. This is a very interactive show and we want to hear from you. So again, if you're watching live or whether you're watching via the replay, please do leave a comment and say hello. If you're watching for the first time, my name is Daniela Bleckner. I am an author, book journey mentor, founder of a company called Conscious Dreams Publishing. We work with authors from all over the world to help them to get their powerful messages and stories out there in the form of professional books. Over the last 5 to 6 years, we have published over 140 books, some of which you can see on the bookshelf behind me here, if you're on Instagram, and here, and there, if you are watching. I can't quite work it out. Here, if you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, we are everywhere. So, again, we've published over 140 books over the last 5 to 6 years. I'm absolutely passionate about providing a platform for unseen, unheard authors so that they can have their voices heard and stories shared so they can educate, inspire, entertain, and empower the generations to come. I absolutely love books. From 4 years old, I said, I'm going to be an author because I loved reading. I loved gaining knowledge. I loved escaping away into magical lands. I loved writing. Hey, Tom Murray. I loved writing. It was my medicine, and it still is. And I had never planned to set up Conscious Dreams Publishing. I actually set it up because I self-published my own book called Mr. Wrong. Learn from Mr. Wrong and claim Mr. Right, which is all about, hey Naz, which is all about learning from our past experiences. Because I'm a believer, if we keep on attracting the same sort of person, the same sort of situation, the same sort of circumstance, then we need to go on a journey within. And this is why I love our guests that I'm going to be speaking with today, because a lot of this is in her book as well. If you are watching for the first time, Between the Covers is the show where you get to hear from unseen, unheard authors who have either published through Conscious Dreams Publishing, or perhaps they've self-published their book themselves, or maybe they're traditionally published. It is for you to really get an insight into their story, their journey, and their message, and also to learn about the process of publishing a book, what the journey was like for them. If you are an aspiring author, to really get a sense of what it actually takes to create a book. I call myself a book journey mentor because publishing a book is very much a journey. No two journeys are the same. It's so easy to look at a book and have, enjoy the book, but have no concept of what it took to create, publish, and distribute that baby. So today we're going to be spilling the tea on what that takes. I am speaking with a very special lady today. I met her just 2.5 years ago, perhaps, at a women's conference, and we all had an opportunity to speak on stage and share our story and expertise. And Naz, to me, really stood out because not only was she really eloquent in the way that she spoke, but she was speaking about things that I really resonated with: manifesting the life that we want, going on a personal development journey, the power of forgiveness, the power of letting go of past hurts, that we can start to create the life that we want and manifest the love that we want. So I'm going to share her bio before I invite her in. Please do send her some love and some hearts. This is her very first interview about this book. Nazish Qazi is of Bangladeshi heritage and grew up in England, where she lived for most of her life. At age 31, she turned her life around, went back to university, and discovered her true calling. In 2002, she graduated with an MSc in occupational psychology, and since has created a successful career in learning, training, and personal development. Her passion for transforming people's lives grew whilst working with the unemployed, drug and alcohol sufferers, and young students. Along with designing and delivering training programs for business professionals, managers, and CEOs, she has coached many to heal their hearts from emotional baggage, free their minds of self-doubt, and go on and to achieve personal and professional goals. Nazish's teachings are backed by psychological knowledge, as well as mental practices based on the Silver Method NLP, neuroscience, and other coaching techniques. She's also developed some powerful mind tools, through working with her own clients and transforming their lives. As an author, business, and life coach, her lifelong intention has always been to help ordinary people realize their extraordinary natures. What a beautiful bio. I had to just share that with you because I think it's very powerful. Again, it's about ordinary people achieving or manifesting extraordinary things. So I'm going to invite Nazish into the broadcast.
Hello.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Amazing. If you're watching on Facebook or if you're watching on Instagram, please do let us know that the sound is okay. Just give us a thumbs up. That would be amazing. It sounds good my end, but always good to check. So Naz, you are now, well, when's the book coming out? On the 22nd of February. So you will be a published author. The pre-order link is out today. How does it feel?
I am super excited. A little bit emotional actually, because I can't believe that this is really happening. It's been the work of a lifetime, shall I say. When I say the work, I'll explain more in a bit, but it has been something that I've wanted to do forever, and it's becoming a reality. So yeah, I can't tell you how excited I am.
Amazing. So I mean, it's such a huge achievement, and it's an absolutely beautiful book. Do you want to see the book? I'm not going to show you the book until I see some hearts and some love. Cassandra said there's an echo. Is that on you? Is that on Naz or is that on myself?
Okay.
Is the echo really bad or is it livable, Cassandra?
I think
that's the question.
Can you hear me? Is an echo?
It's gone now, no problem. Hey Dillis, nice to see you. Big up Dillis. She is a show called Dillis Dillis Speaks. It's a great show. It's gone fantastic. So do you want to see the cover, please? I just want to see some hearts and some love and some support if you want to see this cover and learn a little bit more about the book. Before I show you this beautiful cover, it's called Lessons from a Frog Princess. So can you give us a bit of context and background? Why the title and what can people expect?
Well, the Frog Princess started its journey about 2 to 3 years ago. That's the writing bit, but the actual idea of writing about my own life started way back when. I can't remember, because like many people these days, we find ourselves single, and then with a partner, and then single, and then with a partner, and then single, and then with a partner. And this happens over and over. And we learn, and we stumble, and we fall, and we pick ourselves up, and we grow. And as all of this was happening, along with my cultural background and the restrictions and the difficulties I had growing up as a young adult, there was always an idea that what if the world knew about my story? Is it really that embarrassing? Is it really that awful? Or is, after doing especially that conference, I realized so clearly that people need to hear my story. And it gave me the confidence to write about the journey that I've been through. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. Ruth says, great to see you again. Thank you so much, Ruth. If
Hi,
you just
Ruth.
joined us, please do share this out. Let people know that we're live. And thank you so much for coming back. Thank you. And your story is so significant and it's so important. And I think, maybe for men as well, but definitely for women and our expectations of us. So many people can resonate with what you talk about, getting to a certain age and not having to achieved a lot of the things society expects us to. And how to deal with that and how to carve your own way and start, manifesting things for ourselves. I think is so powerful. But I think we've had enough love and we've had enough hearts to actually reveal the cover now. We want to see the cover. They're going mad on Instagram. Here we go. It's Lessons from a Frog Princess, Heal from Heartbreak and Magically Manifest True Love. I think it's an absolutely beautiful book. I thoroughly enjoyed reading this. You know, when I work on books, it's not just working for me. I'm gaining knowledge for myself as well. There's some amazing exercises and reflections in here, and your story is just amazing. And to top it off, Nazish has done her own illustrations. Look at that. She's done the cover herself. Let us know, what do you think of the illustrations? What do you think of this cover? Isn't it fantastic? There you go. It's beautiful.
That's the inside.
That's the inside of the book.
That's one of the illustrations.
So you'll have to buy the book to see the rest. It's on pre-order today. So what would you say the main message then of your book is, and the purpose of sharing your story, and who's the book essentially for specifically?
Essentially, the book is for anyone who has had their heart broken and wants to find love. It doesn't matter if you're male or female, how young or old you are. If you still believe that you can find love, that you have love in your heart to give and to share and to receive, that's who it's for. And what was the next part of the question?
What would you say your main message of your
The main message? The main message, I would say, is you can heal. You can always heal. The sad thing is that I've met many people who have had their hearts broken, become rather bitter and sad, and got to a stage where they just think there's nothing left out there. There's no one for them out there. And my main message is that there is. And if you want to know how to get from where you are, from being that single person who still believes that there is possibly love out there, but you just don't know how, then this is who the book is for, to show you how to get from A to B to finding that true love.
Amazing. Thank you so much. You've got some lovely comments here. I have to share them. Delissa, one of our lovely authors, shout out to
lovely. Thank you, Delissa.
A very beautiful and elegant woman. All the best with your book. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very talented to write and do the illustrations, Naz. Beautiful illustrations.
Thank you, V.
We want her on our team. Cool art, gorgeous cover, fabulous comments, amazing. So I think one of the poignant things is, giving up, losing hope. And we've just had Valentine's Day. Whether you celebrate or don't celebrate, I think it really does get people thinking about love and the concept of love. Do I feel loved? Am I worthy of love? Do I deserve, am I able to even attract love? Do I love myself? What do you think are some of the things that hold people back from actually believing in love and believing that they can find somebody should they wish to?
Oh goodness, there's a myriad of things that hold people back. Everything from culture to upbringing to what their friends say, what their mum, daughter, sister, uncles, aunts, everyone says. We're surrounded by so much stuff on the outside, externally, that tell us we're not good enough, we're not slim enough, we're not pretty enough, we're not ugly enough, whatever it is you need to be enough of, we're not enough of. And so there's so much stuff that holds us back, and not just the default programs that we might have had from an early age, but also stuff that we hear from the media, from what we see around us. Continuously we're being bombarded with ideas how we should be, and so it's no wonder that people get stuck and feel that they're not worthy of love, whereas essentially we all know in our heart of hearts that we are worthy of love. We are absolutely, every single one of us, worthy of love. So yeah, that's what I think. I think it's a shame that Valentine's Day and messages get mixed up in how we should be, what we ought to be doing, who should be giving flowers, who should be receiving this and that. It's nothing to do with that. It's to do with how you truly feel about yourself and about the one you love or want to love. So yeah, that's my book is really about helping people get to that place where they can truly value themselves and then attract the right person that values them too.
And I think that's what makes your book different from so many different relationship books. I mean, certainly when I went through my phase of reading relationship books, it was, what do you as a woman, obviously I read from a woman's perspective, what do you as a woman have to do in order to attract, or how do you need to behave? What do you need to, and I feel that, music, even fairy tales, um, movies, all these messages we get, culturally, like you say, teach us or show us that we need to be worthy of, having love in order to, be someone, or to feel worthy. We need to have somebody. Do you feel that there's a time constraint, possibly culturally, societally, on women specifically, to be at a certain stage in their lives at a certain age?
Oh, absolutely. And certainly from my own experience, I had huge pressure from the word get go, becoming an adult, that, oh, you should be married, you should be having kids, you should be this, you should be that. And even though I was going out and getting an education and a career together, it's never quite enough, whether it's in Western culture, whether it's in Eastern culture, and certainly in my parents' culture, it was expected that definitely by the time you're 25, you should be married and having your first child. And I didn't do that.
Well,
So
you did,
that didn't happen. That didn't quite happen the way I'd hoped. And even 30 came along and it still didn't happen. So, it took me a long time to really come to terms and accept that was not going to be my journey. And it's one of the toughest things, I think, especially if you're a woman as well, where your body clock's also ticking away. And so you think that you should be getting married and having kids, or at least having kids. And so the pressure is on. So that's another pile of pressure that's put on us that I think is simply not necessary.
And then when you feel this pressure, you're almost acting from a sense of, desperation or stress to have to achieve something in a particular time frame, which then creates that resistance, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I love that your book talks about, going back to self, not seeking outside, but going back to self. What inner work do we need to do in order to start feeling good about ourselves, loving ourselves, and attracting, what we want from the outside? So, I mean, would you be able to share maybe 3 tips to self-love, 3 tips to helping people to really embrace who they are and to accept where they are at the same time?
Certainly. Let me see. So one of the first things to do is to, I would say, notice when other people are saying stuff, and not just people, but media and ideas that are going on inside your head. So the first tip is to really hear yourself think. When you learn to hear yourself think, then you can notice whether you're hearing something from TV, from the social media, or is it something that you really feel about yourself? So, for example, it could be, oh, I'm getting too old. Yeah. Or I'm not attractive enough, or I'm not running my own business, or I haven't got the high flying career, or whatever it is. If you're thinking, I have to get that thing in order to be good enough in order to have a life partner, then think again and think about where those thoughts are coming from. Is it really your own thinking, or is it something that's been put upon you? So that would be my first tip. Another tip is to make notes. I think journaling is a great idea. It doesn't suit everybody because not everybody's into writing. But if you can just scribble down notes as and when you get ideas and thoughts. So if you have a thought, today I saw such and such, and it made me feel, and write down how you feel. And then you will begin to create a list of thoughts that are either yours or not yours. So I think journaling is a great way to make yourself become more aware. So one of the greatest things to self-love is to become self-aware. And it's one of the hardest things to do. I was only talking about this with a good friend of mine yesterday, that we are so conditioned to look outside of ourselves all the time. We are focused on our work, we're focused on our day-to-day stuff, we're focused on our homes, our families, what the boss wants, what our children needs. It's continuously, our focus is outside of ourselves. So one of the hardest things to do, men and women, everybody, is to really stop and breathe and look inside yourself. And this is what one of the main messages in the book is about. It's about taking time to really go inside, hear your own thoughts, hear your own feelings, feel your own feelings, and become more aware of them. Only then, once you become aware of yourself, become aware of these thoughts, become aware of your own internal chatter. When you become aware of that thinking, then you can think about change. You can't change something from the outside. You have to change it from the inside. So if you want to change your self-talk about how you look, for example, it's not going to happen from the outside. It's only going to happen when you notice that you are saying these things to yourself. Does that all make sense?
100%. It's so important. I think again, it's this always sense of being on autopilot, going from adrenaline, going on. We're not taught how to think.
Yeah.
So sometimes we think we're thinking. We're just repeating the stories that we've been told somewhere deep in our subconscious. And I love that you talk about, this self-awareness, becoming aware, conscious thought, writing things down, logging, taking inventory of self. And I think that we're living in a very fast-paced life where we feel, I always think we have time. We say to ourselves, I don't have time. I don't have time to think. I don't have time to be aware of how I think. I don't have time to love myself. What would you say to somebody who says to you consistently, I don't have time?
Yeah, well, we hear that a lot, don't we? And I myself have been there many times, so I can totally hold my hand up and say, yeah, I'm also one of those. So it's about learning, A, to notice that you're saying that, and B, to say, well, how can I make time? And it takes literally 10 minutes a day. If you can get off the social media, get off your phone, actually put that phone down.
Not now, though. Not now.
Not now. Afterwards, put the phone down and just give yourself 10 minutes to just sit and be in your own space and breathe and stare at the sky, or just close your eyes. And you don't have to be a great meditator or anything. You can just listen to some quiet music, calm music, and just go inside. And if you can have just 10 minutes of space to yourself, and I ideally recommend first thing in the morning or last thing at night, whatever you can make, especially for busy people, busy mums, who are working full time. It's really hard to find time to think about anything else. And you find that you sit down for 10 minutes and then what happens? You're thinking about all the things that you have to do and all that still hasn't been done, and you're giving yourself a hard time because you haven't done it. And you notice, but that's okay. It's okay. It's the first step. And if you can do that and then just hear yourself think, oh, I'm thinking about what I have to do, but that's okay. I think that's definitely one way to start. Yeah.
100%. That's great advice there. Thank you. You got some lovely comments, so I'm going to read them out here. Dilla says you're very easy to listen to. Lovely. Ruth says to love ourselves is important for loving others. So true. Dilla says, I have always taught that the journey starts with self. The rest aligns with that. Exactly that. Such a clear message in your book. If you've just tuned in, I'm speaking to Nazish Qazi, who's written and illustrated a beautiful book called Lessons from a Frog Princess. Heal from heartbreak, and magically manifest true love. Absolutely stunning book. Vayu says, thanks for discussing cultural pressure. Very real for a lot of young women from BAME backgrounds. My nieces need to read this, hear this. Yeah, I definitely agree. And I love that you actually touch on that in your book, in terms of culture and the pressure that you felt. Before I read the other comments, is there anything that you want to sort of add to that? And what did you find yourself doing? That you said the expectation was you're married, children, 25, but you went down a completely different path. Can you share a little bit about the path that you went on?
Certainly. Well, if you remember, Danny, when we were at Her Story conference, and I did my talk, I started off by describing how I was feeling sitting in my wedding sari on the day I actually got married. And I did get married when I was young, when I was 25, and I went down that route, and it didn't take me long to realize that I'd made a huge mistake, or really was it a mistake, but that's another discussion. I think everything happened for a very good reason, and I'm glad for it, and I'm glad for all that I learned. And that marriage soon turned out to be a marriage of convenience. Whose convenience? My convenience. My convenience being it gave me a ticket. I know this is going to sound strange, but it gave me a ticket to freedom. Freedom from the chains that I was bound to being single in my culture. So yeah, so all I was doing was fulfilling expectations, and I had no idea I was doing it at the time. So I'm glad I did it. I learned a heck of a lot for it. I'm grateful for the man who chose to marry me. But I moved on very quickly after and realized that that was not the life that was going to make me happy, and it certainly wasn't my true love. So
in your book, what really shines through for me is that you have regardless of your experiences and who you come into your life, you're so thankful for every single one. And in a sense, it begs the question: is anything ever bad? Is anyone ever bad that may be harmful for us at that particular time? But it's all about self-responsibility, and I find that really refreshing in your book. And there's no malice towards anyone at all, which I think is so important.
Thank you for saying that, Danny. I really appreciate that. I think gratitude is something that we all bandy about a lot nowadays, but what does it really mean? And the gratitude actually came after I went through the exercise of forgiveness, which I go into detail in one of the chapters about how you have to forgive those people that were significant in your life, those people that hurt you, and most importantly, forgive yourself. So I give the steps on how you do those forgiveness techniques. And so I think when you get through that, then you get to a place of actual gratitude, because you see the value that those relationships brought you.
Yeah. And that was such a powerful part of your book, your forgiveness exercise. And it's the in a sense the downloads, or I don't know what we call them, the guidance. You're in it from your inner guidance system that you were given by your fairy godmother, which we'll get into. Around forgiveness, I found really powerful, and they're really just easy, accessible exercises that people can do from the comfort of your home. It's not extensive, and your results are powerful. Dillis says, my daughter is 15. She said to me today, Mummy, I'm not going to force and get married. I will do, but it's not a priority. My proudest moment thus far. Yes, Dillis. Yes, dear daughter. Though she said it almost apologetically, expecting me to be upset, I told her it was exactly how to do it. I mean, can you speak on that at all, Naz?
How wonderful and how refreshing that a 15-year-old can speak up and say that. I mean, goodness, I wish I had that kind of, what shall I say,
insight
and reassurance as I was growing up. I remember being a teenager and having not a clue, not a clue, no idea about relation. In fact, the contrary, I had really bad role models when it came to love, when it came to marriage, when it came to relationships. There was nothing that was uplifting, nothing that gave me hope, nothing that, and I think nothing much has changed actually since then, because there's still a lot of kids growing up with in broken homes and relationships, and I think parents find it very difficult to present being themselves as good role models. And even when they do, I've got friends who are single moms, and they're doing a fantastic job of raising their children. But what goes in at a subconscious level, subliminally, that we're not aware of, is something that those parents are not responsible for. So children are still growing up without a real idea of what a significant other person in your life should or shouldn't be, or what to aim for, or what kind of relationship is a good relationship. So yeah, it's still difficult.
I definitely want to sort of crack into that. What does a healthy relationship look like? But we've got Laura says, "Hey Laura, nice to see you." Hey Danny, I've just joined. What's the title of the book? Lessons from a Frog Princess. Heal from heartbreak and magically manifest true love. Now I put the link in. If you're watching on Facebook, it's in the it's in the post of all of them. I've also put it in the comments as well on YouTube and on my Conscious Dreams publishing page. Wherever you go, you will see the link. So if you're watching this, it will be in the link to this broadcast to get your book. And it went out on pre-order today. Very excited about it. And Laura, she actually illustrated this herself. I want Naz to join our team. Look how beautiful. Look at the detail to that.
Danny, could you give a little flick through so people can see some of the images?
Of course.
Would that be okay?
Yeah. So Instagram here first. Can you talk us through this image?
Oh, that's Froggy dancing when she's beginning to find herself. It's called The Princess Awakens. And she's beginning to find who she is, and learning to love and enjoy music and dancing.
That was the cruise, wasn't it, with the rum?
We won't talk about that. Oh, well, you can. Okay, that's one of the diagrams, actually, about one of the exercises.
Spirit, mind, yeah. I'll do one more. I showed this one before. I want to touch on, fairy tales. We spoke about societal pressure and cultural pressure, and I'm always. It's not that I hate I do hate fairy tales. From a young child, I was one of these kids that was like, why does the prince always have to be? How do we know? Who's qualified the prince? Snow White falls asleep, I think, and then a prince kisses her on the lips, and suddenly she's going to marry him. What point does Snow White ask, what are your values? Why? Who are you? First of all, be like, who the heck are you? Thanks for saving me, but who are you? Yes. I didn't consent, but also, what are your values? What do you like? And there isn't any of that. It's this sense that, as a woman, for you to be of worth and value, you need to have something in addition to who you already are. You need to have a prince to save you, a prince charming, because you couldn't possibly do anything yourself. And so as a kid, I was very much a tomboy. I loved climbing trees and playing in mud, not interested in boys. I was poo-pooed all of that princess stuff. But I love that you look at sort of fairy tales from a different perspective. Can you speak a little bit about how your chapters are, the layout of your book? You start a little bit with your story and the fairy tale, and then you've created your own different characters that you'd normally see, the archetypical characters that you'd normally see in a fairy tale, and weaved it into your book. Can you speak a bit on that?
Absolutely. I'd be delighted to. Interestingly, the fairy tale aspect kind of grew as I wrote the book. So I wrote the main content, the main chapters, and then found myself talking about the froglings and how Froggy grew, and there was some bits where I was talking in the third person, so like as though I was telling a story, and it suddenly dawned on me that this is actually going to be lovely if I put like excerpts of fairy tales, but they're not excerpts of fairy tales that you've read anywhere because I made them up. So they are actually, well, at the beginning of each chapter is an excerpt which relates to my story. And it's written like Cinderella or like the Frog Princess, Frog Prince, or Alice in Wonderland. So it's written in the style of old fairy tales that we grew up with, which I used to love reading. But they relate to the main story. And then within the chapters, there's also little excerpts where I'm actually talking about myself and my life and my story, but as though it's from the third person, and about how the Frog Prince went through various experiences. So yeah, it just gives an added flavor to the book, and that's how the pictures came about as well. So I thought, okay, so we're having a fairy tale style excerpts inside each chapter, and so I decided to do the paintings as well. And I never thought I would ever be good enough to paint pictures for my own book.
Sorry, if you're watching, tell us, please.
But there you go.
Never thought it would be good enough. Look how beautiful it's just absolutely stunning. It's so beautiful.
Thank you.
My favourite character, without sort of telling too much, but I love the fairy godmother in your book. And what the fairy godmother means to you, and if you know, when you've got the book, you'll find out how powerful the fairy godmother is, and how the fairy godmother actually resides inside all of these characters do. Tell us a little bit then about, you know, how do you work with people? How can you help them to what words am I looking for? Tell us a bit about what you do, how you assist people in their life.
Okay. Well, I've been working as a life coach for over 20 years now, and I love what I do. And I used to focus more on business coaching and business training and helping people change their careers, and something that led to the books that I read before on business training. And in this book, I took a huge leap of faith and decided to talk about A, my personal experience, and B, how to incorporate the learning that I had over the years to improve my personal life. And I never found that anywhere. I searched high and low to find this kind of advice, and it sort of grew. The book grew, and the chapters grew. And actually, I'm going to tell you a secret. They didn't come. Sorry, I digress a bit, but I have to tell you. So I was kind of pottering with the idea of talking about my own story, my journey in relationships, and I was like humming and ahhing and things. And then one morning, while I was doing my usual morning routine, my meditation, I suddenly got this download of ideas that just came down, it was like the first 7 lessons that came one after the other, and I had to immediately write them down. So the lessons came first, and then over the coming days, those lessons became clearer. And initially, I was going to call it the 9 steps or the 9 stages of love. And then I thought, as I began to put my story into it, and referred to the froggies and the froglings, I thought, why not call it the lessons from a frog princess, which is exactly what it is. So how do I go about helping people? Well, yes, I've been coaching people for a long time, and my ethos has always been about giving people real, down-to-earth tools, exercises, things they can, get their hands on and do by themselves or with a little bit of coaching that's easy for anyone to do. Because I'd read so many books on theoretical stuff, which makes things sound much more complicated than they need to be. And so my desire was always, and has always been throughout my coaching and all of my books, is to give simple, straightforward, down-to-earth exercises and advice. Oh, thank you for that. That's great. Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah,
so
that's
to connect with Nazish, find out how you can work with her, go to
Givondisha. Yeah, givondisha.com. Givondisha in very simply means life paths in Bengali.
Oh, life paths. Beautiful. Love that. I'm going to leave that up there. Oh, I could talk to you all day. Okay, we're going to be live for another 4 minutes. So we couldn't possibly do this interview without asking you a little bit about the process. So, there's probably people on here who may want to publish a book. Maybe they're writing a book and not sure how to go about it. Maybe feel a bit daunted. Maybe they've shelved it because they think it's not good enough. Tell us a little bit about the process of writing and publishing this.
Okay. So, as I said, when you get those ideas, scribble them down anywhere, on paper, on your laptop, on your tablet, wherever. Start collecting your ideas. Don't worry about starting at the beginning and going through from beginning to end. Would you agree, Danny?
Everyone's different. I think as long as you've got the structure there, you can start, chapter 5. Chapter 5 is going to be about a particular theme, or especially if it's a non-fiction book, go for it. Probably wouldn't recommend it for a sci-fi novel, but 100% with this sort of book.
Yeah. Well, actually, for me, I started with chapter 2.
Okay.
Yeah. But in my head, I had a structure. And then once I had the structure, I put the structure together and just started writing. And so the process is, what writers, what we see on TV and on films and stuff, as a writer sitting in front of his old-fashioned typewriter with a blank mind and not getting any ideas. Well, it doesn't have to be that way at all. I think the first thing is to not put so much pressure on yourselves to write perfectly and to get the sentences right, sounding exact. I think it's much better just to, what I call, dump down everything that comes into your head. Just get it all down in black and white, and then don't worry about making perfect grammar. Don't worry about perfect English or whatever language you're using. Don't worry about perfect sentences. Get all your ideas down, because that's the first stage. It's called the creative flow. And once you're in the creative flow, you find that the ideas just start to come and you just start to write and just do that. And then you can always go back and, as I've always done, go back and rearrange and restructure at a later time. So that would be my advice.
Okay, amazing. Thank you. So if you're writing a book and you're thinking about really getting that complete, there's some great advice for you. And talk to us a little bit about the publishing process. What can people expect, and how did you find yours?
Well, just find Danny. She's brilliant. The process, actually, I used a little bit of one of my manifestation techniques.
Tell us. I want to hear. I want to know about this.
Oh, well, when I first had the idea coming into my head, and at the same time, I had conversations with my mother, conversations with my best friend, and it all kind of aligned and was pushing me towards this direction that I would write this book. So that was at the very initial stages when I started just plotting some of the structure. And at that time, I thought, who's going to publish me? And who's going to be interested in such a book? And I thought, okay, I don't have to worry about this. I'm going to visualize having the perfect publisher. So that's what I did. I imagined the perfect publisher coming along and being more than delighted to publish my book. And lo and behold, I go to a conference where I meet Danny, and I think by the second day, I was absolutely sure you were the one. So that's when I approached you and said, I'm going to be writing this book, and this is the book title. And you were immediately enthusiastic about it. Thank you. And so I went from there. So my journey with Danny has been amazing because she's been enthusiastic from the beginning. I think the hardest thing is to find a publisher who will publish you. So I think that's the hardest thing for most people. But don't let that put you off. I would say go ahead, write your book, write it as it comes. Don't put a huge amount of pressure on yourself to get it right, because it will come. And it won't come all in one go. It might come in bits and pieces. It might be one long flow. You might do it in one weekend, I don't know, or it might take months and months and months. But it doesn't matter. If you have a book in you, and you start the process, just take the first step, then it will start to flow. And in the process, you can do several things. You can start to do some research, looking for publishers, and at the same time, tune in, which is one of the things I talk about in my book. Tune into your inner self, get their guidance about what you really need to do to find that publisher. And you can always do a visualization. You can do a vision board, or just simply write down a sentence like, I have found my perfect publisher. And this is exactly what I did. And you came along.
That is absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And both of our favourite colours are purple. And I have a very good memory for what people wear, and don't ask me how, on particular days. And I just remember really small details. But you were wearing a purple dress, was it? On the day, yes. And I remember your speech really, really, really clearly. And I remember thinking, I love this story. I had no idea you were writing a book, but I could resonate with everything that you spoke about. You know, the cultural pressure, the journey to finding love, and all of these things here. And you actually, the way you delivered it, you were dancing on stage. I felt like I was there. And then when I read it in the book, I was like, I've seen this before. So I just think, you know, when you're in flow, and when you set your ideas on what you want intentionally, it's really powerful. And like I say, every single book that we publish, I read in detail, and sometimes I do the exercises, and there are so many there's so many exercises in there. I did a few of the meditations. I've got to work through it properly, and you know, even for the small amount that I have done, you know, I've had quite huge changes, which is another another book probably. And you know, the fact that I'd written Mr. Wrong, and speaking about, you know, manifesting the things that we desire and doing the inner work, it was a no-brainer for me. And then topping it off, reading it was like, I don't know how anyone would not publish this book. It's just fantastic. And I urge every single person, this is not just for women, this is for anybody who's experienced heartbreak, or knows someone who's experienced heartbreak, or even if you haven't, who just want to hear an amazing story. And a lot of these techniques, it doesn't have to be about love. It could be anything, like say, manifesting the business you want, manifesting the publisher you want, manifesting anything in your life. It's just an absolutely beautiful book, and I'm very proud to have it on my shelf. So to finish off, how can people connect with you, and what's next for you?
Oh, thank you for asking. Well, there's my website, gvondisha.com. There's I'm on Facebook also, Gvondisha Life Pass. You can find me there. So you can message me, subscribe on my website, and now I'm on Instagram. Yay! So hopefully that will be up and running. And the next exciting step, which I'm dying to tell you all about, is going to be the follow-on course. So I'm currently developing several workshops. It's going to be 9 lessons following the book, and they're going to be available online. And I'm going to be taking people through the steps, and there's going to be a lot more within the workshops. about how to get from A to B, get from heartache to healing that heartache to manifesting true love. So I'm excited about that. So watch this space. If you subscribe on Facebook, that's great. Then I'll be putting posts on there on that course and when it comes about. And I'm hoping and planning that I will come to England for an intro course, which I'll be delivering there in some time this year, hopefully soon. And we could do some book signing if people want to come along. But yeah, I would love to have you there, Danny, and our viewers and our readers, and meet you all in real life, and do a workshop with you to do some of these exercises. And they're all fun. The thing is, none of these exercises are hard work. They're actually fun. So
exactly, they are fun.
Yeah.
And you touch on that imagination and the creativity, which for me, when you want to manifest something and create something, you've got to come from that space of creativity. And so when I read it, it's almost like through the eyes of a child where you're excited to do it. It doesn't feel like a chore or, oh, I'm going to sit and meditate. And I was like, no, I'm creating characters. I'm creating a story. It's just brilliant. It's so good. Other people say, can't wait to read this now. It's amazing. Fantastic. If you've watched and you find this of value and worth, please tell somebody about this book, because it's out on pre-order now, Lessons from a Frog Princess. Please do share out this broadcast, let people know about it. Please follow and subscribe so that when I'm going live with other authors, you can find out what other books are coming out. And please do follow Nazish as well on her Instagram and on her Javan Life Path on Facebook. And I've also dropped the link to her book in the comments, as well as her website. So thank you so much for everybody who has joined. I could talk to you all day. I can't wait for a live event. I absolutely love live events, and we're putting more on, so I can't wait for you to come to London. And please do tune in, the rest of you, next Wednesday, 7 p.m. GMT, 2 p.m. EST, where I'll be interviewing the awesome, amazing Natasha Arumbi, who will be speaking about her book, Church, But Not As You Know It. See you next week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.